afternoon, students. In today's class, chapter 3, we are going to discuss Indian reforms in 1991. So, what are the reforms in 1999, 1991? We are going to discuss in today's class. So, as you know, after independence, we were facing so many challenges. So, we came up with 5-year plans, and we had proper structure to lead our economy. We came up with in agriculture sector. We came up with land reforms and land ceiling, and in the industrial sector we started funding more and giving licenses to them. So we try to give the subsidies here and loans to these sectors. So by doing all those things, we wanted to boost these sectors so that they can contribute to GDP. But when we started these plannings, what happened? Due to policy paralysis, management failures, failures in policy implementation. Due to all those reasons, so we didn't reach the expected goals. When we were following these 5-year plans, whatever the goals we kept, like growth of the economy, modernization, then self-reliance, equity, we wanted to achieve all those things, and we concentrated more on self-reliance and equity. But to run the economy, even whatever we produce in a country, that is not sufficient to fulfill all the needs of the people of the country. So we need to depend on imports as well. So when we depend on few goods which we are importing, like oil and electronic goods, petroleum products, oil season, petroleum and electronic goods, and so many other goods, we depend on outsiders. So to import those goods, we need to have forex reserve. Foreign reserve we should have in terms of dollars. So then only we can pay those producers in terms of dollars to buy these goods which we import. So to have this reserves, there should be an export as well. When there is export, and now within the goods export ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ನಮಗೆ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ ಫ್ಲೋ ಆಗ್ತಿರುತ್ತೆ in terms of dollars. So ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ನಾವು goods export ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, fund is flowing in terms of dollars, and we are importing goods, and those things we can pay in terms of dollars with these reserves what we have. But ಇಲ್ಲಿ import ಆಗ್ತಿತ್ತು, but export it was not of that great standard. By doing this, even government spent most of the money on development and reforms. Developmental activities, so you can expect increase in the expenditure. So when government started funding more on developmental activities, we can understand that there is an increase in the expenditure. But okay, there is an increase in the expenditure. Parallelly, simultaneously, we should plan for increase in the revenue as well. There should be a proper revenue generation. ನಮಗೆ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಇರಬೇಕು ಮತ್ತೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಂಡಿಚರ್ ಇರಬೇಕು, ಎರಡು ಇರಬೇಕು. ಬಟ್ ಏನಾಗಿತ್ತು, ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಸೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಪಟ್ಟೆ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇತ್ತು, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಂಡಿಚರ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಪಟ್ಟೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದಂತ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇತ್ತು. ಬಟ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ವೈಸ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ರೆವೆನ್ಯೂ ಫ್ಲೋ ಏನಿತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಅದು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇತ್ತು. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು? ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ ನಮಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಬರುತ್ತೆ? ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸೇಷನ್ ಇಂದ. ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸೇಷನ್ ಇಂದ ನಮಗೆ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಒನ್. ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಟೇಕಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಅವು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಕಂಪನೀಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರೀಸ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನಿಂಗ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದೇರ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಫಂಡ್. ಬಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಏನಾಗ್ತಿತ್ತು, ಎಷ್ಟೇ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ ಬಂದ್ರು ದಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೆಸ್ ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಟು ಅವರ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಂಡಿಚರ್. ನಮಗೆ ರೆವೆನ್ಯೂ ಆರ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಅಂತಿಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಂಡಿಚರ್ ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಪಟ್ಟೆ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇರ್ತಿತ್ತು. ಇವನ್ ವೇರ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಂಡಿಚರ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಜನರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಏರಿಯಾಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ರಿಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್, ಡಿಫೆನ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಈಗ ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ರಿಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಫಂಡ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಆಗಲಿ, ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಆಗಲಿ, ಇಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡೋದಾಗಲಿ, ಸೊ ಕಾನ್ಸಂಟ್ರೇಟ್ ಮೋರ್ ಆನ್ ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ರಿಫಾರ್ಮಿಂಗ್ ಏರಿಯಾಸ್. ಸೊ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಫಂಡ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಅದರಿಂದ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಏನು ರಿಟರ್ನ್ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇರಲ್ಲ ಇನ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಮನಿ. ಸೊ ಈ ಡಿಫೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಏನಾದ್ರು ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ರೆವೆನ್ಯೂ ಜನರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಏರಿಯಾಸ್, ದಿಸ್ ಏರಿಯಾಸ್. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನಮ್ಮ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಂಡಿಚರ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಯ್ತು. ರೆವೆನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಇನ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಇಂದ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಟೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಬರಬೇಕಿತ್ತು. ಅದು if we compare between what is our inflow and outflow was it is in a huge amount, expenditure ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇತ್ತು compared to our income. So ಹಿಂಗಾದಾಗ what happened, our Indian government started depending on others for financial needs. ಯಾರ ಮೇಲೆ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು? ಇಬ್ಬರ ಮೇಲೆ, ಇನ್ಸೈಡರ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ಸೈಡರ್ಸ್. ಇನ್ಸೈಡರ್ಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ವಿದಿನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ insider, second one outsider we can say. Insiders andre in Indian financial institutions. ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದು ಸಪೋಸ್ ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿಯಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, whoever they can lend the money, so ಅವ್ರ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ನಾವು ಬಾರೋ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ವಿ ಇನ್ಸೈಡರ್ಸ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ. ಔಟ್ಸೈಡರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ as I said, International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, that is IBRD. We also call it as World Bank. World Bank ಮತ್ತೆ ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಮಾನಿಟರಿ ಫಂಡ್, ಸೊ IMF. ಸೊ ಈ ಎರಡು ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತು, ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ ನ ತಗೊಂಡ್ಬರ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲೇನಾಯ್ತು, ಇನ್ಸೈಡರ್ಸ್ ಇಂದ ಎನಿ ಇಂಟರ್ನಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಎನಿ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿಯಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಇಫ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಫಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ತಗೋತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಬಟ್ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಸಫಿಶಿಯಂಟ್, ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಡಿಪೆಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಆನ್ the World Bank and IMF. So our ಏನು, they said okay we will fund but you need to follow few guidelines. ಏನು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, suppose you need to remove the restrictions. The private people ಮೇಲೆ restrictions ಹಾಕಿದಿರಲ್ಲ, that you need to remove. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಲೈಸೆನ್ಸಿಂಗ್ ಏನು ರಿಜಿಡ್ ಲೈಸೆನ್ಸಿಂಗ್ ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ಏನಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ ನಿಮ್ಮದು, ಲೈಸೆನ್ಸಿಂಗ್ ರಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್, ರಿಜಿಡ್ ರಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್, whatever the licensing restrictions you have, you need to remove that as well, and whatever the control you have on private people also, that also we need to remove. So then only we can fund and we need to liberalize the economy ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. Liberalize the economy, then only we can fund you ಅಂತ what these World Bank and IMF they suggested, and they actually put those conditions. Based on that we will fund you ಅಂತ. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ for whatever forex reserves ಏನಿತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಅದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ for importing and exporting we need reserves in terms of dollar, and then we had only funds which we can manage only for 2 weeks. Now 2 weeks ಗೆ ನಾವು ಏನು ಮಾಡೋದು, ಇಂಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಪೇ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಅಷ್ಟು ನಮಗೆ ರಿಸರ್ವ್ಸ್ ಇತ್ತು. ಸೊ ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ 2 weeks ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಹೆಂಗಪ್ಪ ನಾನು ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡೋ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ವಿ ನಾವು. So definitely we needed funds from these big institutions where they can fund for the developmental purpose. Now given reserves ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇತ್ತು, 2 weeks ಗೆ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಇತ್ತು. So we were in a very worse situation. So ಹಂಗಿದ್ದಾಗ obviously ಅವ್ರು ಏನೇನು ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ರು we need to follow that. ಹಂಗಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅವ್ರ ರಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ರಿಮೂವ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ಗೆ ಎಂಟ್ರಿ ಕೊಡ್ರಿ ಅಂತ ಏನೇನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇಂಪೋರ್ಟ್ ರೆಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಏನಿತ್ತು, ಇಂಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮೇಲೆ ರಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರು ಅವಾಗ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ಗೆ ರೆಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಇತ್ತು. So all those restrictions we have to remove, then only we will fund another. Okay, we agree to your conditions, then we will come up with the policy that they call it as new economic policy. So India agreed to these money lenders, the institutional investors, and they came up with the NEP, New Economic Policy. In that policy, what they have done, we will see that New Economic Policy, the main purpose of coming with this New Economic Policy is to have some reform policies which can boost the Indian economy. Complete reformation ಆಗಬೇಕು, ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ ರಿಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನ್ಯೂ ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ತಗೊಂಡ್ಬಂದ್ರು. ಸೊ ನ್ಯೂ ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ ಪಾಲಿಸಿನ when they brought it, those policies we can see in 2 ways. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎರಡು ವೇನಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ನೋಡಿದ್ರು. So what are those two things mainly they concentrated on ಅಂತ ನೋಡೋದಾದ್ರೆ we can say stabilization and structural reform measures. So those whatever new economic policies in Tovan, those new economic policies they mainly concentrated on these two areas. What are the measures they wanted to take with this new economic policy? Actually, they wanted to have the stabilization measures in place and the structural reform measures. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇವೆರಡು ಮೆಜರ್ಸ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದು ಅವರು ಈ ನ್ಯೂ ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ ಪಾಲಿಸಿನ ತಗೊಂಡ್ಬಂದ್ರು. ಸೊ ಈ ಎರಡು ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಸ್ಟೆಬಿಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ಮೆಜರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಇನ್ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಪೀರಿಯಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಏನೇನ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು, ನಮಗೆ ಇಮಿಡಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಏನ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಸಾಲ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ that we need to cover under whatever the issues we are facing, immediate issues that we try to overcome by doing this stabilization measures. By taking these measures, controls, we try to resolve those problems. About structural reform andre here we try to have long term plans and we wanted to actually see our economy in an efficient way. We wanted to compete globally. So for those, whatever we need to do, that we will cover under structural reforms. Few measures they actually considered under structural reforms and ಕೆಲವು measures na stabilization measures ಅಂತ ತಗೊಂಡ್ಬಂದ್ರು. Here these we can say short term measures where we can address foreign reserves, foreign exchange reserves and color. So that one and the inflation. So in this stabilization measures, what they try to address here is, in short term, we are facing this foreign exchange reserves because we have only 2 weeks funds which we can manage only for 2 weeks. So now immediate concern is the foreign exchange reserve. So we will try to address this issue and expenditure ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಿದೆ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಏನಂದ್ರೆ income ಏನಿದೆಲ್ಲ ಅದು that is less compared to our expenditure. So ಹಿಂಗಿದ್ದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ inflation create ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Inflation ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ whatever in the market, if you wanted to go and buy the product, suppose generally pulses nage 100 rupees al ಸಿಗ್ತಿತ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ now in inflation situation we will get for 250 300 like that and all. If vegetables, if you are getting around within this less than 50, now you can expect more than 100. The price of these goods, essential goods or all those goods, the price will shoot up. And sikavate price ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನಂದ್ರೆ ಇನ್ಫ್ಲೇಷನ್ ಹಂಗಾಗಿ pricing price ಏನಿತ್ತಲ್ಲ of goods ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಿತ್ತು. So we will take care of foreign exchange reserve and inflation issues. We will address that in stabilization measures, and they came up with these stabilization measures. In this, they try to address those issues. In structural reform measures, in these structural reform measures, what they have done, actually they wanted to achieve these two things: efficient economy and more competitiveness. So we should have more competitiveness with outsiders globally, we can say. So globally we should have more competitiveness and our economy should work in an efficient way. So here economy manage ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಆಮೇಲೆ we need to be globally competitive. So here issues we will address in structural reforming measures ಅಲ್ಲಿ we will take care of these two things ಅಂತ. Actually they wanted to manage our economy when they came up with new economic policies. So in new economic policies, they came up with these measures. So how they perform? What is the roadmap for that? So what they have done? What are the reforms we can see to address the issues? And actually, we will say that as LPG, the economic reform. So whatever economic reforms we are talking about, when this IBDR, International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, IBRD, and IMF, when these people they had some suggestions, some conditions, then they said, okay, we will agree to your inputs. we will come up with some reforms, economic reforms. That they said, okay, we will liberalize, we will call it as new economic policy. In that, we will mainly concentrate on LPG. What do you mean by LPG? That is, we will liberalize liberalization, privatization, and globalization. So they said, okay, we agree to your suggestion, then we will come up with a new economic policy. In that, we try to cover all these things. We will liberalize our economy, we will privatize, and we will globalize. Our aim is you need to remove the restrictions on the head. So, remove the restrictions under, okay, now private people ke import ಮೇಲೆ ಏನೇನು restrictions ಹಾಕಿದ್ದಲ್ಲ, that we remove under these new economic policies ಅಂತ they actually came up with liberalization, privatization and globalization. ಈ policies ನ ತಗೊಂಡ್ಬಂದ್ರು. In 1991, this we call it as economic reforms. So when we were our growth development hampered due to our laws, whatever policies, rules and laws we have, those rules and policies and laws in Tadindala, these were just to control, regulate. So ಏನು ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಪಾಲಿಸೀಸ್ ಲಾಸ್ ಏನು ತಗೊಂಡ್ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ, ಅದನ್ನ ಎಕಾನಮಿಕ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ರೆಗ್ಯುಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇನೆ ಸೀಮಿತ ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿತ್ತು. ಇಫ್ ವಿ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಗ್ರೋತ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ, growth development point of view ಏನು ಆಗುತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. These rules, regulations, policies, whatever government form, those are just to control and regulate. ಈ 2 ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅವರು ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು. ಗ್ರೋತ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಕಾಣ್ತಿದ್ದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅದಕ್ಕಾಗಿ they came up with these policies. They reformed the economy with these policies. Here we can see growth and development ಅಂತ ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪಾಲಿಸೀಸ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ಬಂದ್ರು. So ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು first we will see one by one. Liberalization ಬಗ್ಗೆ first we will look into that. Liberalization means what? Whatever restrictions we had, like license restrictions we had, whenever industries came for approval for licensing, we had some restrictions. Like in license laws, we had restrictions, and even licensing restrictions we had to open new industry or even to close also. Production of goods, nature of goods, ಆಮೇಲೆ pricing factor ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, to open a new industry, new setup, we need to get the license from government. Already restrictions irta itte. ಆಮೇಲೆ to produce the goods and what kind of goods needs to be produced, we had restriction on those things also. ಕೆಲವೊಂದು restrictions only small scale industries Only they can produce. Few reserved goods they can produce. Hangitu. So nature of the goods also government will decide. Okay, these goods you produce, these goods you can't produce. I mean pricing most of the goods pricing decided by government. Government really pricing decide market. I mean distribution how we can distribute the goods, distribution network bagi market bagi everywhere the government had a control. We we were following a socialistic approach, not completely, but we can say mixed economy we were following. In that, government's role was quite major control government had in this. So ಹಾಗಿದ್ದಾಗ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ರಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಇತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಸೊ ಇದೇನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಸ್ಕೇಲ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರೀಸ್ನೇ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ನ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತಿತ್ತು ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ರಿಮೂವ್ ದಿಸ್ and the quantity what is the quantity they had some specific quantity okay these quantities only we can produce and these kind of goods only we can produce these are restrictions itala we will remove this also the production restriction we will remove and whatever reservation we have given to small scale industry only those goods will be produced by small scale industry and we will remove that also and licensing we had a rigid and strict policy when it comes to licensing so now we will remove that also we will be very liberal while giving licensing okay and start the business we will remove this also and pricing okay we will leave it to market pricing we will follow market pricing ಹೆಂಗಿರುತ್ತೆ whatever demand and supply ಮೇಲೆ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ demand and supply ಮೇಲೆ market pricing ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ so we will leave this pricing to market so based on the demand and supply market itself is will come up with a price we will agree with that we will not play any role major role in pricing so you ಇದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ restrictions ತೆಗೆಯೋಣ ಅಂತ ಇದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಈ ತರ ಎಲ್ಲ restrictions ಎಲ್ಲ ತೆಗೆದಾರೆ so that we call it as liberalization so mainly when we talk about restrictions ali what are the areas we wanted to remove the restrictions so hang nodadadre under liberalization these sectors we try to cover industrial sector financial sector tax reforms foreign exchange market trade and investment sector ये ನಾವು ಎದರದ ಮೇಲೆ ರಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ನೋಡ್ತಿದ್ದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿಯಲ್ ಲೈಸೆನ್ಸಿಂಗ್ export import policies we had restrictions here foreign investments So when we talk about liberalization, so where we can liberalize ourselves. So by in industrial licensing, we needed some reforms here. ಅಲ್ಲಿ restrictions ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಪಟ್ಟೆ. So we need to ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು LPG ಅಂತ ನ್ಯೂ ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ ಪಾಲಿಸಿಯಲ್ಲಿ they came up with, as we know, this LPG, liberalization, privatization and globalization. These concepts they bring it. So we are discussing liberalization is that if the aim ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು what are the things we need to liberalize. When they had that question, they made a list of these things. Wherever we have a restriction, so there we will liberalize. Okay, so we have restrictions in industrial licensing. So wherever somebody comes to us for licensing, we have a restriction there. So we need to work on here. We need to remove the restrictions. We need to liberalize in this area. And export-import policies, what we have, those are very rigid policies we have, and we have restrictions by importing the goods. But tariffs we are charging, they are very high. Now tariffs ಬಗ್ಗೆ quotas ಬಗ್ಗೆ discuss ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ, correct? So tariffs and quotas. So this tells about the restrictions what we had on imports. ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಪಟ್ಟೆ taxes na collect ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು, tariffs while importing the goods. And we have quota sections. We have some restrictions on importing quantity. So those things we can work out. We can liberalize in this export-import area. Here also we need to use some liberty. And in foreign investment means foreign investors, institutional investors, suppose foreign banks, mutual funds, if they wanted to come in and invest in India, we had some restrictions, right? And in here also, export-import policy, what was our policy? We wanted to self-reliant. Self-reliance we have discussed, right? Self-reliance means we will use our own resources and produce ourselves. We will not allow importers. That is what our concept. So that's why we had some restrictions here, and that was required initially. Okay, so that's why they followed that. Gradually, when Indian economy started growing and population also increased, the needs of the country started drastically changing. To meet those needs, government started struggling. That is why they thought of liberating or liberalizing wherever they had restrictions. All restrictions ಇತ್ತು ಅದನ್ನ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡೋಣ ಅಂತ even IBRD and IMF, they also suggested to liberalize these areas. Restrictions na kadme ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಫಾರಿನ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಏನಿತ್ತು ಅದನ್ನು ಅಲೋ ಮಾಡ್ರಿ ಅಂತ. ಇಲ್ಲಿನೂ ನಾವು ರೆಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಇತ್ತು ಅದನ್ನು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗಲಿ ಅಂತ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿಕಲ್ ಅಪ್ಗ್ರೇಡೇಷನ್, as I said, in this self-reliance concept we wanted to use our own technologies. ಹಂಗಾಗಿ ರೆಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ವಿ. ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿಕಲ್ ಅಡ್ವಾನ್ಸ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇರ್ತಿದ್ದಿಲ್ಲ. whatever technology we had, we were using that only. ನಮಗೆ ಬೇರೆ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ ಮೇಲೆ ಯೂಸ್, suppose we depend on others technology, what we thought was when dependency increases, dominancy also increases. If we start depending on them, they will start dominating us. That we already experienced. ನಾವು ಮುಂಚೆ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ನಾವು ಬೇರೆಯವ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಇಂಪೋರ್ಟ್, ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕಲಿ ಇಂಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಆಗಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಇಷ್ಟಪಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಿಲ್ಲ. So that is, we need to understand why government followed those 5 years plans, what were those goals. ಏನಂದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದಕ್ಕೂ there is a background, as we know. So that the keeping everything in mind, they actually had some goals, they wanted to achieve that. But somehow ಏನಾಯ್ತು ಅಲ್ಲಿ failure ಕಾಣ್ತದೆ because of so many reasons. So we need cooperation from everybody. It is not a easy task to run a country. So that's why they face few difficulties. ಹಂಗಿದ್ದಾಗ ಏನಾಯ್ತು ಅಲ್ಲಿ it was a need of an hour. ಹಂಗೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಮಾಡಲೇಬೇಕಾಯಿತು. So we started removing restrictions on these areas. So now specifically, okay, these are the areas we have Here we have so many restrictions. We will start removing those restrictions sector wise. Step by step now in mana reforms na toward prana. We will liberalize our economy sector wise. Now ನಿಧಾನಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದೊಂದಾಗಿ restrictions ತೆಗಿತಾ ಹೋಗೋಣ ಅಂತ. So then they started in 1988 to 1981 when they started feeling the heat, economic issues and started when they felt the heat in 1980 only they wanted to go for this economic reforms. But ashtondu serious agi they didn't give a try to that. So what happened in 1991 when those institutions we started borrowing money from outsiders, when the pressure increased, then we started implementing this LPG in 1991. So industrial sector and first all these sectors we wanted to go for our economic reforms and the liberalized monetary sectors. So industrial sector, what and all we can do here. In financial sector, what we can do. In tax reforming, what is the present taxation from what foreign exchange market, that how we can do here. So either we started thinking of those things. So here we will look one by one: industrial sector, financial sector, tax reforms and all. So, due to some technical issues, we didn't conduct the classes on the scheduled time. So, there is you can see some clash between the classes. So, what we will do, we will complete this and then we will discuss the other sectorial parts in the next class. So, in the industrial sector, we can see government said, okay, here in defense, atomic, so atomic energy generation, defense, atomic energy generation and railways. Okay, these areas we will look into. Public sector means leave it to us, and the other industrial sectors and other industries you can work on. So that's what the liberalization they have given, like alcohol, chemicals, electronics, pharma, so even these were under government control. So they said, okay, these are purely we will manage, and these areas you can start production. We will do the liberty here. these chemicals, electronics, pharmaceuticals, alcohol, all those things we will give the permission, we can do that. And we had this restriction on small scale industry, only few goods the small scale industry they can produce. We had this restriction, that also we will remove now. These are the industrial sector. What are the changes we can see here? So by going for liberalization in industrial sector, they say defense, atomic energy generation, railways, these areas we will control, we will concentrate on this area, and other things you can manage. We will allow you guys to start the production here. And whatever the restrictions we had, small scale industries, we gave them some reservations. So we will remove that also. Even everyone can start production. Like that, in industrial sector, they actually manage the things, and rest of the most of the things they started giving licenses to all the producers. So that's how the industrial sector reforms happen. So whatever reservations they have for small scale industries, now they de-reserve. De-reserve means they remove the reservations on small scale industries that even everyone can produce. So like that, industrial sector, whatever changes that happen under liberalization we saw, the financial sectors, tax reforms, all those things we will discuss in the next class. I'll stop here. Thank you for your time.